Nupur sir has joined us, so we can start the session.
Okay, sir. A warm and hope-safe good morning to everyone. I, Nupur, welcome you all to the morning session of third day online national workshop, which is jointly organized by Department of Applied Economics and Commerce, Magad University, and the Indian Accounting Association, Patna branch. It gives me immense pleasure to introduce before you the resource person of the session, Dr. Brijesh Pratap Singh. He is an associate professor of statistics at Department of Statistics, Institute of Science, Banaras Hindu University. He is a renowned faculty dealing in statistical demography and has more than 115 publications in various reputed journals. He did his graduation and post-graduation from Deen Dayal Upadhyay, Gorakhpur University, and PhD from prestigious Banaras Hindu University, Varanasi. He has more than 14 years of teaching experience. On the behalf of Department of Applied Economics and Commerce, Magad University, and on the behalf of all the participants, I welcome you, sir, to the session. The topic for the session is descriptive statistics. Before I hand over the session to the sir, there is always one query of participants regarding the visibility of PPT. You will see two IDs of Dr. Brijesh Pratap Singh, out of which from one he would be sharing the slides. So please pin that ID on your screen, then you will not face the problem. May I now request Dr. Brijesh Pratap Singh to take over the session and lead the session. Sir, please. Sir is muted. Please unmute him.
Okay. Now I'm audible?
Yes, sir, you're audible.
Okay. So my PPT is on the screen. You have able to see this.
Yes, sir, it is visible.
Okay. So good morning to all participants and organizers. And I'd like to thank organizers, especially Dr. Dharen, all-time my favorite student, who gave me this opportunity to present something related to statistics before owning. So in this session, I'd like to discuss something which is very necessary before using statistical techniques. Some of the non-statisticians, they start and they feel some difficulties when they are using statistical techniques to resolve their problem. So before using a statistical technique, there are many things that are very essential to know why we are going to use this statistical technique for the data. So in this session, I would like some basic techniques, basic requirements to use statistical techniques. So first, I'd like to say what is research method. So in my mind, research method comprises in 5 things: sampling frame, sampling, ability to generalization, bias, reliability of and validity, level of measurements. So statistics is the science of data. This is applied mathematics in which we are using data to solve some problem which is not solved by some other subjects. Many subjects fail to solve a problem, then statisticians try to solve problem. Suppose one can ask a problem, what will be the sale in December, or what is the production of wheat in next year? Is there any subject which give the answer? No. Definitely statistics provide some clue on the basis of available information. So sometimes statistics solve the problems that is unsolved. Okay, so it is used, this statistics is used data. So for data, it is very important to know sampling frame or listing of the individual or household or village or whatever your sampling unit, and sampling. How to sample the data? Okay, we cannot enumerate all and each and every peoples in the society. So there is a need of sampling, and on the basis of sampling, we can draw inferences, and that can be generalized. So your sample is like this, so that you can generalize your result. So there is a sample size and some sampling techniques by which we can get a good sample. Okay, your result should not be biased. If your result is biased, then nobody is using in future your inferences or results or your findings. So your studies should be reliable and valid. Then there is a meaning of your research. Otherwise, there is no meaning. You should also know the level of measurement. What type of level of measurement that decide which statistical technique is required for you. Is it? Then come to the statistics. There are again 4 things: statistical significance, other key terms, appropriate statistical step. For an example from some data. So we'll discuss it later on. So what is research? To do successful research, you don't need to know everything. You just need to know of the thing that is not known. Is it? Or that is known in some form. And you can express this in your own words. Second, that is the nature of research. You don't know what is hell you are doing. If we knew what it was we are doing, it would not be called research. Okay. So what exactly research is? So scientific research is systematic, controlled, empirical, and critical investigation of natural phenomenon, guided by some theory and hypothesis about the presumed relation among such phenomena. Is it clear? Many people discarded this. So their findings cannot be generalized. So we should very careful in the beginning of using statistics or beginning of the researches. So research is an organized and systematic way of finding answer the question. So important component of the empirical research. So these are the basic things: problem statement, you have to make the problem, research questions, purposes, benefits. If there is no benefit of your research, then nobody is going to use. You should define the theory, assumptions, background literature. These are very important issues before starting the research. Variable. So what is variable and what is information? What type of hypothesis you are going to make? Operational definitions and measurement. Research design. What type of design is required for your research question? And what type of methodology you need? Then come instruments and sampling. So in statistics, sampling is our instrument. Some statistical tool is instrument, data analysis, and conclusion, interpretation, and recommendation. Basically, statistics are divided into 4 parts, or you can say the building of statistics made on 4 pillars. So the first pillar is data collection, second is data presentation, and third is interpretation, data analysis, and fourth is interpretation. What is the interpretation of finding after using a statistical technique? So sampling, so it is a bigger issue. In statistics, sampling is a big issue. So why sampling? So sampling reduces your cost and time. You cannot enumerate every people's in the society. So you want a group or subset of the population that represent your whole population. So sampling is very much required for the research in statistics. So what is your population of interest? You should know. To whom do you want to generalize your result? Whether they are all student, whether they are only undergraduate or postgraduate, whether the population is Hindu, or you want to say something about the athletes and so on. So sampling. A sample is a smaller collection of units from the population used to determine truth about the population. So you can say sample is a subset of the population and has ability to say about the population. Is it? So sampling frame. What is sampling frame? So this is nothing but a list of the potential respondent, and you can get it from the register office, class roster, must assess sampling frame errors. You should remember the sampling frame you are going to make from anywhere is reliable, should be reliable. You can make your sampling frame in the field also. Suppose you want to get a data from a particular block or from a particular society. Go to the society and make household list. That is the sampling frame. And after that, you can use any sampling methodology to get the samples. So there are many type of this picture is very much important. This is the population, and this is a subset of population. So it is a sample, and this sample is taken from this population and has capability to infer the population. So type of sample, there are two type of sample: probability sampling and non-probability sampling. So first I would like to discuss this non-probability sampling. Non-probability sampling is a sampling in which we are not using the concept of probability. So there are four type of non-probability sampling. First is convenience sampling, second is purposive, fourth is quota, and one more important sampling, non-sampling methodology is known as snowball sampling. Okay, they are used in a specific way. So convenience sample is that, suppose I am asking a question, what is the perception of COVID-19 in the society? So people can make a structural questionnaire and sampling frame and get data by the probability sample and then infer. So it is a way, but you can get a quick response using non-probability sampling. So convenience sample and purposive sample give the answer very quick. So according to your convenience, you can get the data and draw some inference. Purposive sample, what your purpose is there, your purpose is to save the time or save the money, you can get the purposive sampling. Quota sample is a refined sampling methodology, non-probability sampling methodology of these two types. In quota sample, we just fix the quota of the population. Suppose in our population there are 30% Muslim and 70% Hindus. So we want a sample that has 30% Muslim and 70% Hindu. So we get 30% Muslims and 70% Hindu. So it is the quota. We can fix the number on a particular character. We can fix the number according to their age, according to their caste, according to their place of residence, according to their job also. One more non-probability sampling is known as famous non-probability sampling methodology is snowball sampling. So where we can use snowball sampling? Snowball sampling is used for a rare phenomenon. Suppose you want to know what is the situation of death registration in the society. So death is a gloomy episode of the I can say it is a gloomy episode of gloomy part of the life. Nobody remember it. Nobody want to remember it. So many people, there is a provision of death registration like birth registration, but very few people are going for this registration. So how can you get the data in the society? So it is very simple. Either you go to the registration office or go to the person who get the death registration. He can able to say about the another people. So it is sometimes known as Delphi method or Delphi method, a snowball method. So you can have some information using some key informer. Suppose you want to know about some people who indulge in the sexual activity after marriage, you can get the information from the quacks or from the doctor who deals this type of diseases. Okay. So sample size, it is another important issue. What should be sample size? Many non-statisticians, those who are using statistics, they come to the statistician. What should be the sample size for our study? Many times you can say non-statistician uses 100 observation, 200 observation, 500 observation. Why this sample size? Because they don't know about the importance of the sample size. Why not they collect 99 observations, 99 samples, 105 sample, 104 sample? Because they are not using any sampling size formula. Okay, so it is again very important issue to know what should be the sample size. Okay, so there are many formula. I am not going in detail. If you need, then you can ask any statistician and they can help you to decide what should be the sample size for your research. So I want to leave this bias and reliability. So this is the figure. I'd like to transfer my view about the reliability versus validity. So you can see this last one is reliable as well as valid. This third one is neither reliable and nor valid. This is valid but not reliable, because this sample represent. Hello.
Good morning, sir. I have a question.
Yeah.
Are you sharing your screen?
Yes, I am sharing my screen. You
So
can.
we are not able to.
You can see Nupur rightly said that there is a link. You can use that link. Click on the link.
Please do not unmute your mic. If you have any query, please post it in the chat box. Do not disturb the sir. Please mute your mic.
Nupur, help them to see this slides.
Okay, sir. Sure, sir.
Am audible to all?
Yes, sir.
Okay. If there is a screen that is in front of all peoples, it would be better.
Yes,
So,
sir. It is visible. I'll guide them. So you can continue.
Okay. So this first figure shows that reliable but not valid. All the samples taken from a June, but this is not represented to this red part. Is it clear? So this is the four pillar I have discussed. Four pillar of statistics: collection of data, presentation of data, analysis of data, and interpretation of data. So these four things should be done carefully. If you are going to collect the data, you should be very careful to collect the data. If data is not good, your all exercise is very chaotic, very unreliable, findings. So statistics can be defined as this is a collection of method for planning experiment, obtaining data, and their organizing, summarizing, presenting, analyzing, interpreting, and drawing conclusion based on the available information. So collection of data is the first step of any statistical investigation of the phenomenon. So you should be very careful. You should be very careful. Many people are saying that, so sir, it is wastage of time. No, it is not wastage of time. When your raw material is not good, how can you say your food is very nice? Is it? Suppose you are going to buy a 20 rupees kilo rice and one person goes for 80 rupees. Whose cooked rice is better? Definitely for 80. So when your raw material is good, your all exercise will be good. And then after doing these exercise, you will be happy to say something. And many people appreciate your result. Data are generally classified into two groups: internal data, external data. So what is internal data? Internal data comes from the internal sources related with the functioning of our organization regarding purchase, production, sale, profit. Your college or your university has this type of data. What have purchase or what will be the production, sale. This type of data has, many organizations has this type of data. So you can get it from the, and various organizations like railway, universities, military, general, generate internal data for further use. So you can use these data for the forecasting purpose. Suppose you have many year data on income of the university from admission or entrance test. So you can project whether they are increasing or decreasing. So when internal data are insufficient for any fruitful finding, then we need some external data which are collected by some external agencies. Suppose census, our government conduct after every 10 years there is a census. But many time we know NFHS, DLHS, and other national-wide sample survey conducted by different agencies. Why? We don't have every information with the census. So we need some more information, and that can come from the several surveys. Okay? So many times we need some data, and that come from the external sources. So data further can be categorized into two parts: primary and secondary. Okay, many people have many type of debate on primary and secondary data, but in my mind, primary data are original and first-hand use information, and secondary data are published data that are not in the crude form. Okay, this is the basic definition. But many people say that no, primary data is the data which is collected by a person, and that data is only primary for this particular person. That is not primary for any other person. But in my mind, if data is not processed and it is first-hand use for the different person, then it is primary. Secondary data is published. Suppose you have age-wise data. There are 50 persons, 50 peoples, and everybody's age is asked by a person, and this data is era data. Many people can use this data as, and this is a primary data. If it is processed, grouped this data into 5-year groups, then it becomes secondary data. We cannot back a person whose age is 24 year if data is grouped into 20 to 25. So this is secondary data. But when data is not processed, it is original, then it becomes primary data. So primary data can be collected through direct personal interview, indirect personal interview, mail, questionnaire. Okay. So direct personal interview is what? You have a questionnaire, a structured questionnaire, proof questionnaire after a mock interview, a pilot survey. The direct personal interview provide best data, or the quality of data is best with this methodology of collection of data. So when you are going to direct personal interview, you have to make a report with the respondent, ask about yourself and about your study. If he or she give permission, then you can ask the questions. Indirect personal interview is what? Indirect personal interview is an interview in which many questions that cannot be answered directly. Suppose a female is there and interviewer is a male. Suppose some question in the questionnaire is about their personal lives. So female may be uncomfortable to give the answer. So in this way, you can get the data using this indirect personal interview. Suppose many reproductive issues of the girls. You can use this indirect personal interview and provide the questionnaire to her and ask about the answer and put it into the box. So no name disclosed is there. So female is comfortable to answer the questions. So indirect personal interview many times helps the researcher to get the data on the sensitive issues. Mail questionnaire. This is very popular these times. Mail questionnaire and telephonic, you can say in Android phone there is a mail. Many management peoples and this time many researchers related to medical science and you can see social science, they every day they send a questionnaire, 20, 25, 15 questions about the COVID-19 or any sensitive, any issues related to burning issue, this pandemic, and ask this, fill the questionnaire. So you may get the information, but this information, in my mind, this information is not fruitful because this is not representative of the population. You don't know the population even. Suppose I want an email address. He was my friend. Now he lives in Chennai since 10 years, since last 10 years. So how can we say the perception of that particular person represent the UP peoples? Suppose I got 100 information, 150 information. Some are from South India, some are from North India, some are from Northeast. So they cannot represent the population. So in this methodology, you don't know about the population as well as the sample. But this methodology is somewhat useful when you want to say something quickly. Suppose in lockdown period, there is no option for the direct personal interview and indirect personal interview. So this mail questionnaire helps to conduct some research about this pandemic. So secondary data can be collected through published sources, unpublished sources. Unpublished sources, you know, these theses submitted by the student or the copyright of the particular institution, you can get from some data, published data from their sources, and the secondary information. So planning for analysis, a sound research plan successfully matches these elements with the proper technique. collect the type of data that is more appropriate to answer your question and fit the other parameter on your project. So we should be very careful about the data and the question asked in the question. So quantifying data. Suppose I am asking some questions and answer is in the qualitative way. So we should quantify this data, because our statistical tool only use the data. They are based on the data. So mathematics needs numbers. So you should quantify your responses. So some transformation are simple: assigning numeric representation to nominal ordinal data, turning male. So suppose my question is, what is your gender? Your answer will be male or female. So we can assign a number for the responses. So the responses for any particular question may be very interested, somewhat interested, and not interested. So you can assign. You can assign. Here I am saying 3 for very interesting, 2 for somewhat interesting, and 1 for not interesting. Is it? Can we assign 1 for very interested and 3 for not interested? So you can decide. You can decide what is your interest. What is your interest? Is it? So what is the type of, what is your question, and you want what type of response from the respondent, and which answer is more having more weight than others. So somewhere not interested may be more important than very interested. Is it? Suppose a question is that what is your interest in seeing the poem sites? So very interested is not much important. Not interested is more important as far as concern a good society. So you can expect a good society is not interested in this. So you can assign the numbers according to your question. So assign numeric values to continuous variables, turning born. If a person say that the date of birth, my date of birth is in 1973, so that their age can be counted by subtracting this from the current year. Developing code category. So you can, when you are going to use this statistical software, they need some code categories, codes. So you can assign some numbers. So some data are more challenging. Open-ended response must be coded. Okay. Suppose there is a question and you cannot think what will be the answer. So this question is the open-ended, and you can get the information from the respondent, whatever the response is given by the respondent, and after collecting the data, you can assign this number or group this and these responses in different categories. So this slide is for the coding quantitative data. So what is your occupation? Use pre-established scheme: professional, managerial, clericals, semi-skilled, etc. Create a scheme after reviewing the data. You can get the data, whatever the responses are, and you can convert it by giving the numbers. So point to be remembered, the data are coded in to maintain a good amount of details. They can always be combined later, not in the previous. If you fix the categories, then you cannot back. Suppose I am putting 1 for the professional job. So there are so many professional jobs. Some are doing work in the grocery store, and some are working in the computer center. So you cannot distinguish these, but there is an difference. Those who are working in the computer center and you can say call center, and those who are working in the grocery store. Okay. So quantitative analysis, you should choose the level of analysis that is appropriate for your research question, and you should choose the type of statistical analysis appropriate for the variable you have. Is it? So your all statistical analysis is based on the data. So what type of data you have? Data say this statistical technique is required for me. Otherwise, don't use another statistical analysis. So I will discuss it in detail. So what is data analysis? Careful investigation or inquiry of the salient feature of the data. So there are two types of statistical analysis, quantitative and qualitative. So I am talking only quantitative here. So this slide is very much important, and you should be careful to see this. So in general, most observable behavior can be measured in the ratio scale. In general, many unobservable psychological qualities, for example, temperature of human body, blood sugar level, blood pressure level, are measured in the interval scale. We will mostly concern ourselves with the simple categorical nominal versus continuous distinction. So our variables are mainly three types. Categorical. In categorical, nominal, you can say categorical and continuous. There are two types of variables, categorical and continuous. In categorical, nominal and ordinals, there are two types of variables. And in continuous, interval and ratio type, there are two types of variable, interval and ratio. So what is nominal or categorical? Placing observation in mutually exclusive categories. Okay. So example, blood group of individuals. There are 4 blood groups, O, A, B, and AB. Suppose I am assigning 1 for O, 2 for A, 3 for B, and 4 for AB. So mathematically, 2 is more than 1, 3 is more than 2 and 1, 4 is more than 1, 2, and 3. Or you can say 1 is less than 2, 3, 4, 2 is less than 3 and 4, 3 is less than 4. There is a mathematical relation, is it, in the number? But do you think there is relation in O, A, B, and AB? No. So if this type of responses are there in mutually exclusive categories, then this is known as nominal scale. Or you can say the number assigned for the different categories have no mathematical relation. Suppose there are 4 sides, east, west, north, and south. We can assign 1, 2, 3, 4. Mathematically, they have relation, but the responses are no mathematical relation. Now come at the binomial and dichotomous. So this is a type of nominal category. When there is only 2 categories in the nominal variable, they are known as dichotomous or binomial variable. Okay. So examples are patient gender, survival status, either the death or survive. Patient gender, either male or female. Suppose your marital status, this is yes or no. So this type of variable is known as dichotomous, and this is a particular case of nominal variable. Ordinal variable. What is ordinal variable? Ordinal variables has some responses which has some mathematical relation. So what type of mathematical relation is there? There is a order. Suppose one person's response is 1, another person's response is 2, and third is 3. So either one is, if one is heavy in the weight, then one is more than 2, 3, 4. Suppose patient illness is the variable. So what will be the responses? Mild, moderate, and severe. So mild is lesser than the moderate and severe. Severe is more than the mild and moderate. So if you assign number 1, 2, 3, then you can say 1 and 2 is less than 3, or 2 and 3 is more than 1. If there is an order in the responses, this is known as ordinal. In nominal, there is no order. There is no order. Suppose I am saying 1 for row, A for 2, B for 3, and AB for 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4 is the order, but O, A, B, AB is not a proper order. You can write A, B, B, A, and O. So if there is an order in the responses, that variable is known as ordinal variable. Suppose the number of year of schooling. So every person give the responses of about the number of year of schooling. Suppose a person's response is 5 year, and another person is response is 8 year. So you can say the person whose year of schooling is 8 year is 3 year more studying in the school than the 5 year schooling person. Is it clear or not? So if this type of variable is there, you can say this is an ordinal variable. The third one is the interval and ratio. Together, this interval and ratio can be said that a scale variable, or you can say these are the continuous variable. And the examples are blood pressure, blood urea, blood sugar, temperature of the body. These are the interval type of data. Why these are interval type of data? Because there is no true zero. So blood urea, blood sugar, blood pressure, temperature of body start from somewhere else than the zero. So there is an absence of true zero. That is why this variable is known as interval variable. Although this is the continuous variable, but it is on the interval scale. We can add, but we cannot apply. Suppose a person's blood pressure is 80, diastolic is 80, and another person is 120. So we cannot say 1.5 times blood pressure is more. We can say 40 unit is more, because there is no true zero. Our whole mathematical analysis is done on this particular zero. If true zero is present, we can use addition, multiplication, division, and subtraction. If true zero is not present there, we can only add and subtract. We cannot multiply. So interval variable doesn't have true zero. However, this ratio having true 0 point. Okay, and the ratio data is your weight, height, age, all are the ratio scale data. But as far as concern social science, in social science, no variables having orbit, or you can say zero. There is variable having true zero. But in medical sciences or physical sciences, there are many variables. They are not having true zero. They are starting from somewhere else than zero. So further, I'd like to say about this discrete data and continuous data. So what is discrete variable and data? So the variable which information or which responses come in the form of discrete, they are known as discrete variable. So only limited number of values are possible between two observations, or you can say there are no responses between two integers. Suppose the example is number of children born. It is either 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. There is no 2.5 children or 3.2 children. Severity of grade of diseases, it is 1, 2, 3, 1.5, 2.5 is not there. Occupation code, gender code. So the responses come for these variables in the integer form, so that they are known as discrete data or discrete variable. So continuous data, infinite number of values are possible between two integers or two observations. Suppose the variable is height, weight, or income, blood pressure, temperature. They can take any value. So height maybe 5.2 inches, 5.22 inches, 5.25 feet, weight maybe any number. So this type of variable is continuous data. So I'm audible? Hello?
Yes, sir, you are audible.
Okay. So quantitative analysis and qualitative analysis are there. Involves locating observation on some sort of measurement scale. So blood pressure, weight, height, these are the quantitative variables, and the analysis is employed in the quantitative analysis. Qualitative analysis involve locating observation in different categories. Exact quantification of the characteristics is not possible, like IQ, beauty, health status. So these are the qualitative variables, and you can use qualitative analysis, but on some extent, after assigning a number or quantity, you can analyze it quantitatively. So now the second pillar, presentation of data. So it is again very important. Every people haven't equal capacity to present a data. So according to the person, it varies, but there are some standard way of presentation of the data present in the statistics, and you can use. So if you have a data, so this is a small piece of data, and how to present it, I would like to discuss with you. So need of presentation of data. What is the need of presentation of data? A picture is more effective than the words. So there are two ways of presenting the data. First is the tabular, and second is the pictorial form. So pictorial form of presentation is more effective than many words and number, or you can say than the tabular form of presentation. And need of presentation is to comprehend the bulk information. So suppose you have 2000 information. Very difficult to understand, but when you come with the tabular form or pictorial form, many people have understand the findings. So to summarize the huge amount of information, to form basis of easy comparison, these are the need of presentation of data. So what are the various methods of pictorial form and tabular form? So there are two methods, tabular and graphical form. In tabular, we need to know number of classes, range of the data, width of the classes, class limits, midpoint, frequency of each classes, sum of frequencies. However, there are various ways to present your numbers or data in different pictorial form are known as bar diagram, histogram, frequency polygon, frequency curve, cumulative frequency curve, pie chart, pictogram, stack diagram. Okay. So these are the various method of presenting your data. So first I'd like to discuss tabular presentation. So we need number of classes and width of the classes. These two questions are big question. How many classes should be there and what will be the width of? So First, class widths. So class width can be calculated by this formula: largest observation minus smallest observation divided by number of classes. But we don't have knowledge about the number of classes. So number of classes for a particular data can be calculated with this formula: 1 plus 3.222 log n. N is the number of observation. Suppose n is 100. So log 100 is 2. So 2 into 3.222 is 6.444 plus 1, 7.444. So this is nothing but equal to that. So according to this formula, there should be at least 7 or 8 classes for the 100 observation. So this is not hard and fast rule. You can make 10 classes, you can make 9 classes, but not less than 7 classes. Is it? So this is the graphical representation. This is the graph. I would not like to go in detail. When you deal with this statistical software, Excel or any statistical software or any graphical software, Sigma Plot or Excel, you can see these various type of graphical presentations. So this is the bar diagram, and this is histogram. So there is a difference between bar diagram and histogram. In bar diagram, there is a gap between bars. Okay, and each bar's widths are equal. In histogram, there is no gap. There is no gap, but the bars may be different widths. Maybe different widths, and one on y-axis and x-axis both are used. However, in this bar diagram, x-axis is not much used. There is not much importance of x-axis. Only y-axis has some information. So on x-axis there may be attribute. However, in histogram, x and y axis both are used, so that this histogram is the graph, two-dimensional graph. However, bar diagram is a diagram. So this is another pie chart. So you can use pie chart for this your data, and this pie chart made for the data shown in the previous slide. So this is frequency polygon. This is frequency curve. So you can make the frequency curve by adding the frequencies. So there are two types of frequency curve: more than frequency curve and less than cumulative frequency curve. So this is less than and more than. You can get on same graph, and median can be calculated with this cumulative, with the help of this cumulative frequency, less than cumulative frequency and more than cumulative frequency. So the cut point provide the information about median. So this is the box plot. This is important graphical representation, but this is not for the data. This is for the summary measure. Is it clear? So there are many confusion. This is this box plot is made for the summary measure. So you need 5 summary measures: 5 percentiles, 95 percentile, 75 percentile, 50 percentile, 25 percentile. So 25 percentile is known as first quartile, 50th percentile is known as median, and 75 percentile is known as third quartile. So if you have some information, these information, you can make this box plot. So this is important. This box plot is very much important to know the normality of the data, or to identify the outlier of the data present in the data. So what type of data analysis? Now I am coming on the main issues of the basic statistics or my talk. So what type of analysis is there? Descriptive analysis, relational analysis, multivariate analysis, and inferential analysis. So, if you have a data from the non-probability sampling, you should use only descriptive analysis. Is it clear? If you have a data from probability sampling, then I can use all. Why? Why I'm saying our whole statistical technique is made on some assumption that is related to probability and normality of the data set. Is it clear? So that if the data comes from the probability sampling, we should use. Otherwise, if data comes from the non-probability sampling, we should use descriptive analysis to show the differences in the society. So descriptive statistics describe the basic feature of the data in a study, provide summary about the sample and measures, and inferential statistics is different than the descriptive statistics. In inferential statistics, we are investigating questions, models, and hypotheses. Infer population characteristics based on samples, make judgment about what we observe. Is it clear? But these questions cannot be solved with the descriptive statistics. So quantitative level of analysis, univariate, bivariate, multivariate, inferential. In univariate, simple form of analysis of data, describe a case in terms of single variable. If we have two variables, then we can obtain the summary measure for both the variable, and we can think what is the relation between two variables. So in afternoon, I will discuss this bivariate or relational analysis, but in morning session, I would like to discuss only with the univariate analysis. So measure of location and central tendency. Is it? So this is the univariate analysis, and measure of central tendencies. So with this word, we have an idea about the tendency, central tendency of the data. Suppose anybody want to know what is the character of data, central character of the data. Okay. Why this measures is required? So there is an history when the evaluation of statistics started. There is no statistics, only mathematics is there. But question comes when there are two societies having some people in one first society and another society. There are some peoples, they have some money in their pocket, and the question is that which society is more richer than the, which group is more richer than the another group. So the question cannot be solved by mathematician. They think about how to solve this. No, how to solve this question, because first group has n1 person and second group is having n2 person. Everybody has some money, not equal money, and question is that which group is more richer, or which group's sum of money is more than the other. So mathematics failed to solve this answer, and then mathematician thinks and they come and decision and take decision as there may be a way to solve this question, solve the question by having a representative number or central character of the data. So what should be central character of data and how to get this character by using the data? So they provide different these 8 measures: arithmetic mean, geometric mean, harmonic mean, median, quartiles, decile, percentile, and mode. These are the character, or these are the measure which provide some idea about the central characteristics of the data. Okay, suppose I have any one of the measure for these two groups, and one group having this character more than the another group, then the higher value of this particular character is more for a group, is more richer. A group having average pocket money is 100 rupees and another is 50 rupees. So we can say this first group is more richer than the second group. So on the basis of these measures, we can compare two groups, two samples, two populations. Is it clear? So there are 8 particular characters and they can be measured and they can use for decision. So arithmetic mean. So arithmetic mean can be calculated for the continuous data. It cannot be used for the ordinal or nominal data. Suppose your variable is gender. So there are only 2 categories, male and female. So responses in the number is 1 or 2, 0 or 1. So adding all observation and dividing it by total number, you will get a number which lies between these two responses. Okay. So what is the interpretation of this particular average? No meaning. So in statistics, the value should be interpretable. So arithmetic mean can be obtained only in case of continuous data. So geometric mean, this is another type of average. First group come and say that, okay, add all observation and divide it by the total number. You'll get a representative number and that is known as arithmetic mean. But another group comes and they say, no, this arithmetic mean is okay, but we have another type of average. So what is this? This is the geometric mean. How can I get this geometric mean? Multiply all observation together and take nth root if there are n observation. Suppose there are 2 observations, multiply these 2 observations and take a square root. If there are 3 observations, multiply these 3 observations and take cubic root or 1/3 power. If there are n observation, multiply all these n observation and take 1/nth root. Nth root or take 1/n power. Is it clear? But there is problem. If your data having 0 or non-negative values, then always you will get a value equal to 0 or some imaginary number. Suppose you have 5 observation and in which one observation is 0. So multiplying all observation, you will get the value 0. So your geometric mean is always 0 if your data having 0. Suppose there are negative numbers, so the product is negative and root becomes imaginary. So there is no meaning. Suppose there are 2 even number of negative numbers, so your problem can be solved, but no. Statistics say if there is a negative number 1 or 2 or 3 or 4, whatever is, you cannot get the geometric mean. Is it clear? So geometric mean is defined for the non-zero and non-negative numbers. Harmonic mean. The third group comes and say that no, we can get another representative number that is known as harmonic mean. We take reciprocal of the observation, take the arithmetic mean, and then take reciprocal of that particular arithmetic mean of the reciprocal of the number. This is known as harmonic mean, and it also represents the data set. So for this harmonic mean, we should use only non-zero observation. If there is 0 present in the data, 1/0 becomes an infinity. But no harm in the case of negative numbers. Is it clear? So this harmonic mean has some specific use. specific use of this. These have some specific use or particular use. Geometric mean is also a very specific use when you are going to make the index number. Index numbers are, you are going to decide the dearness allowance, or some in economic analysis, geometric mean is better measure than the arithmetic mean or harmonic mean. Harmonic mean can be used in case where you want to get the averages of the average. Suppose the question is that when I am going to Delhi, our train's average speed up to Kanpur is this much, and after Kanpur is this much. What is the average speed of train? So arithmetic mean provide result quicker than the arithmetic mean. Another measure is partition values. Median, quartile, decile, percentile are known as partition values. So some people come and say that why we are summing, taking product, taking reciprocal of the observation. Just we arrange the data set and take middlemost observation, and this particular middlemost observation is may represent the data set, may represent the central character of data set. Yes, it may, but there is no mathematical involvement in the calculation of median. Is it clear or not? So median divided whole data set into 2 equal parts. Quartile divided whole data set into 4 equal parts. Decile into 10 equal parts. Percentile into 100 equal parts. So they has some important for a particular data. Suppose your data set is open-ended. Suppose your data is open-ended. Then in arithmetic mean, geometric mean, and harmonic mean, you cannot get the middle point of the class interval, so that you cannot calculate the arithmetic mean and geometric mean, harmonic mean, but you can calculate median, because we need information, all information for median, for calculating median is only for the median class. So in median, there is, if there is open-ended categories present, median is helpful to find out the central character of the data. Suppose your data set is very much skewed. I'm not talking skewed, skewness. You don't know skewness. If you know skewness, then median provide a better measure. Suppose my question is that everybody are graduate here, I think postgraduate or graduate here, so they know very much about marriages is at marriage, or average is at marriage. And for planners, which average provide better measure? Suppose my question is that what is the average is at marriage in India? So marriages started from some somewhat 16-17 year of age. So this is started from somewhere else than the zero. Okay, it take peaks up to 2022, and after that there is a decrease, and it goes up to 32 years or 35 years. So many observations located near 2022, and some observations are far from these particular value. And the drawback of arithmetic mean is what? It is affected by the outliers. So when we obtain this arithmetic mean, it pulls by the outlier or the maximum is at marriage. So this never provide the actual picture of the data, but median provide a number which is in the middlemost and which divide whole data set into 2 parts. Suppose median is 20. So the meaning of 20 is that before 20 years of age, 50% girls are become married, and after 20, 50%. So government can think whether this 20 year of age is better or not. So they can decide what should be the median age. But when we calculate arithmetic mean, it is affected by the outliers. So suppose in your data set, some females are present there whose age at marriage is 35 years and 40 years. The arithmetic mean pulls towards them. So arithmetic mean comes 25 years. So government will be happy, okay, no harm. But median provide, no, 50% female are married before 20 years. Means some are married before 16, before 15. So this is alarming. So median provides sometime better result than the arithmetic mean. Or you can say in case of skewed data, median provide better result than the arithmetic mean. Suppose another example, that due to cancer. So cancer is an aging disease. So as age is increasing, the prevalence of cancer is increasing. So mean is pulled by the number. So it provide what? Higher age, but median provide a lower. So government should think, yes, this lower age is for the average age at death due to cancer. So government should take proper decision to increase the age or longevity of the cancer patient. So similar way, quartile, decile, and percentile, they can be used to know whether your data set is normal or not. In medical sciences, quartile, decile, and percentile are very much important to know whether our data is proper, normal, or not. Okay, the mod. This is very much useful in the business sector, where data, or you can say, this mod is used for the specific purpose. Suppose you want to know the garment size, shoe size, popularity of particular product. So this mod provide the popularity of a particular character. So suppose shoe size, you want to go plan a shoe store, and you know some statistics about arithmetic mean. Go to the society, take the data, and take decision as average shoe size is 6, and purchase many shoes of size 6 in your store. Some are sale and many are dumped in your store. But when mod is used, you can know as this particular size is very popular, so that this particular size shoes should be more in your shop, not all. Is it clear or not? So higher size of shoes, higher size of garment are less popular in the society. Some middlemost is the more popular. So mod can help a businessman to take decision about how much quantity of shirts or garments or shoes should be in the store. So now one thing is remaining. I have asked the outliers. Are outliers affect the arithmetic mean? Whether these outliers affect the geometric mean? Yes. The bigger numbers, outlier may be in the higher side, maybe in the lower side. Arithmetic mean is more affected by the bigger numbers of the higher side, numbers of higher side. But geometric mean is affected much by the number in the lower side. So geometric mean represent the lower society, you can say, and arithmetic mean favor the richer society. So you may decide which measure should be useful for you. Okay, geometric mean favor the lower number, smaller numbers. When you product a particular numbers with a smaller, very small number, you can get a small number. Okay. Now the median. Median does not affect by the outlier. Suppose there are n observations and you add a number that is outlier, that is very, very bigger than the numbers, add it. So the number become n plus 1. So median is not affected by this particular higher number. The position, this is the positional measure. So position is shifted by 0.5. So the next number and the median in the previous data provide this median. The average of these two numbers become the median. So median does not affected by the outliers, but this is affected by the sampling. This is affected by the sampling fluctuation. So if we have different samples, the median is maybe different, but there is less chance that arithmetic mean is different. So the difference in arithmetic mean of different samples are not much more than the median. So median is fluctuated by sampling fluctuation, not from the outliers. So there are many drawbacks of the median as well as means. So after all, arithmetic mean, or you can say mean, is better measure than the odd. So now the second measure is the measure of variation. So when we cannot, sometime we are not able to distinguish two data set with the help of measure of central tendency, then we need some another measure. This measure of central tendency is one of the character of the data set. There may be some another character of the data set. So in the phase of evaluation, people having some problem when they have two groups and they have same measure of central tendency. So they feel some difficulties how to distinguish these two. So suppose there is an example, one first data set having 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Second data set is 2, 3, 5, 7, 8. And the third data set is 1, 2, 5, 8, and 9. So these three data sets, mean and median is what? 5. Median is also 5. So on the basis of mean and median, you cannot distinguish these three data sets. Is it? But easily you can say the first data set where the numbers from 3 to 7. In second data set, number from 2 to 8. And the third data set, 1 to 9. Means the range of observations are different. But the measure of central tendency is same. So on the basis of your decision, maybe the data will be same, but the data is not same. So we need another measure that is known as measure of dispersion. One more thing I have left. Mod. For the mod is not unique measure. That is why I'm not talking about mod in the particular three data set. Mod is not unique measure. For a given data set, there may be 2 mod, 3 mod. So mod is not unique measure. Is it clear? So that is least use, and this is used only in the business sector. So people decided there should be measure of variation, and that measure of variation provide some further additional information about the data set. And on the basis of these measure of dispersion along with measure of central tendency, we can distinguish two data set or differentiate the data set. So there are 8 measures of measure of variation or measure of dispersion. First measure is range. So range is what? Range is the number which is the difference of largest and smallest. So this can be used in case of ordinal interval data, skewed data, open or incomplete data. Whatever the data you have, you can get the range. Quartile deviation. Quartile deviation is what? Quartile deviation is Q3 minus Q2 by 2. One more measure is quartile range. So quartile range is Q3 minus interquartile range or quartile range, Q3 minus Q1. Q3 is third quartile, Q1 is first quartile. So the difference between these two is known as interquartile range. And the average of these two is known as quartile deviation. Or you can say Q3 minus Q1 divided by 2 provide a measure of dispersion that is known as quartile deviation, and it can be obtained for each type of data. Only for nominal data there is no statistics, but for ordinal and scale data you may compute it. Now come the mean deviation. These range and quartile deviation or interquartile range are based on some positional measure. So people think, why should not think about some measure that are based on all observation? These positional measures are not based on all observation. They are based on some particular observation. So sometimes people make the question, why you are ignoring some other observation? So there is a need of some measure that is based on all observations. So people come to the mean deviation, and mean deviation can be obtained for the scale data. Scale data are continuous data. So mean deviation is obtained by subtracting mean from observation and taking average. So mean deviation is what? Average of absolute deviation from mean is known as mean deviation. Actually, what is the dispersion? Dispersion is a concept. Dispersion is a concept. What is the inner variability between the data set? If the inner variability in the data set means data is not reliable, suppose you want to collect the data set for a final year graduate student, what should you think? The range should not be much higher. A student in the class, final year graduation class is of 20 year. Can you think there is a student of 40 year? If there is a student, some student of 40 year means the data is very much heterogeneous. For a homogeneous data, this measure of variances should be less. Range should be less, quartile deviation, mean deviation should be less. So the idea behind this, if data is homogeneous or good or reliable, these measures should be less. So less in what term? So people think if we subtract measure of center tendency, whatever it is, mean, median, or median geometric mean, or harmonic mean, the value comes to be very less. So people come with the mean and median. So subtract this mean from all observation, and take average. But when they subtract observation from the mean from the observation, some of observations are lesser than the mean, some of more than mean. So taking sum of all these deviations becomes 0. So finally they take absolute value of these. So mean deviation is average absolute deviation from mean. You can take median also. So this mean deviation is minimum when it is taken from median. But the problem is that question comes, why are you getting absolute value? Why are you changing the character of deviation? Is there any way to obtain mean deviation, obtain this measure of deviation? So some scientists say that, okay, don't take the absolute value, just take the square of the deviation. So standard deviation is what? In standard deviation, we take square of the deviation. So average square of deviation is known as variance, and square root of this average square deviation is known as standard deviation. This is obtained only for the continuous data, and this is the best. This is the best measure of dispersion when your data follows normal assumption. Another measure are skewness, kurtosis, coefficient of variation, standard error of mean. I'd like to discuss this in when MS Excel or Spaces demo is giving. So this slide is measure of relations or association. So I'd like in the second part of discussion, these are the inferential statistics. So this is not part of my discussion. These are some sample size estimation. So in my talk, there is no scope of inferential statistics. There is said only for basic statistics and correlation regression. So if anybody have some interest, then they can contact me personally, and I'll help them for the inferential statistics. So in basic, this is not basic statistics, but many research methodologies workshop leave these sampling issues. But in my mind, this is very much important for if your data is not good, all exercise will not provide a good result. So sample size estimation, I have two way of calculating sample size. The first is sample size estimation for population. How close to the true mean? You don't know the true mean. Confidence around the sample mean. Type 1 error. So there is a formula, n is equal to z alpha 2 square sigma square d square. So sigma is the standard deviation, d is the accuracy of estimate, how close to the true mean. If you want a data that estimate is very close to the true mean, your sample size is very, very big, and z to the normal deviate derivative of type 1 error. So example, we want to estimate the average weight of the population, and we want the error of estimate to be less than 2 kg of the true mean with the probability this is the z. Actually this is the z. So we are putting this 95%, means you want a particular data with the confidence of 90%. So you want error of 5%. So in a table, in the normal table, at 5% level of alpha, level of significance, the value of z is 1.96. So 1.96 to the power 2 sigma square by 2 square. Okay, so you can get the calculation. There is a thumb rule. This can be approximated by 2. So 2 to the power 4 is 2 to the power 2 is 4. So the thumb rule formula for getting a sample size is 4 sigma square by 2 square. Here this is 2. So this can be cancelled. So finally sigma square will provide the sample size. But when this is not 2, this 2 square and 2 square is not cancelled. So effect of the standard deviation. So when standard deviation is increasing, your sample size is increasing. Means when your data is more consistent, your sample size is less. When it is more, the sample size is more. So when the standard deviation in the data set is more, your sample size becomes more. Because in the numerator there is sigma. Is it? And this is the D. If D is more, denominator become more. Your sample size is less. If D is less means you want a big, you want a good sample. If D is less, denominator will be less. You are taking a square, so the number is again become lesser. So finally n is more. So your sample size is depending on the variability of the data set and this D. Next, sample size estimation for the population proportion. This is very much important, and non-statisticians are using this method. They come with the information of prevalence and they want to compute the sample size. So formula is n is equal to z square p into 1 minus p by d square. P is the proportion of estimate, d is the accuracy of estimate, z is the normal value. So the proportion of preference of a product A is around 80%, and we want to estimate the preference P in this. So n is 1.9 square, so 80%, that is 0.8. P is 80% means 0.8. 1 minus P is 0.2. This is 0.05, 5% level of significance. So it becomes 246. So this 246 consumer is the sample size for what? When proportion of preference is 80. But in case of preference is equal to 20, the sample size is same. Why? When this P is 0.2, this 1 minus P becomes 0.2. This is the drawback of this formula. So this provide the same sample size for higher preference as well as lower preference. So effect of accuracy. When precision is increasing, your sample size is decreasing. And after some time, when it becomes 0.5, again it is increasing. So this is a bathtub type of curve is there. So again, I have asked some outliers. That outliers affected this measure of central tendency and measure of variability. So how to detect these outliers? This is very much important to know. When in your data set outlier presents, there is a need to detect these outliers and remove outliers before the analysis of the data set. Okay. So this is the example. Bill Gates makes $500 million in a year. He is in a room with 9 other teachers, 4 of whom make $40,000, 3 makes $45,000, and 2 makes $55,000 in a year. What is the mean salary of everyone in the room? What would be the mean salary if GET was not included? So with GET, the mean salary is this much, and without GET, it is this much. So this mean is highly affected by the outliers. This Bill Gates is the outlier here. His salary is in the million in comparison of teachers, other teachers. They got in the thousands. This is the reality. Find the mean median of the following data set. Suppose this is the data set. Mean is 15 and median is 14. So in a data set, in a set of numbers, a number is much larger or much smaller than the rest of the numbers is known as outliers. How to find these outliers? We need a 5-number summary, that is box plot. To find 5-number summaries, this data is arranged in this manner. This is the median. This is the first, smallest and largest value. This is the first quartile, smallest 3, first quartile, median, third quartile, and largest value. 3 is the smallest number, 9 is the median between the smallest and median, 14 is the median, 17 is the median between the largest and median, 40 is the largest number. These numbers are marked. So these are the various figures. Now, the lower quartile is second number in the 5 number summary. And upper quartile, this is. So 25% of all the numbers in the set of data is more than Q3 and 25% number less than Q1. Now 50% numbers lies between Q3 and Q1. This is called interquartile range. I have told earlier. So size of IQR is Q3 minus Q1, that is 8. Now there is a formula. To determine if the number is an outlier, we can get it by multiplying IQR by 1.5. So IQR is 8. It is multiplied by 1.5. It will give 12. So an outlier is any number that is 12 less than Q1 and 12 more than Q3. So see here, Q1 is 9, 12 less than Q1. So it is minus 3. So there is no number less than minus 3. But Q3 is 17 and IQR into 1.5 is 12. So 17 plus 12 is 39. So one number that is 40 beyond 39. So this 40 is an outlier. You may include in your study this 40 or you may exclude this outlier and after that analyze the remaining data. So here find the mean and median for the following data set where 40 is present. The mean and median are this 15, mean is 15 and median is 14. But without this 40, the mean is 11.875 and median is 13. So this is the drawback of outlier present in the data set. When many times this outlier affect mean. Now, statistics are invaluable as evidence in support of conclusion. If you can either find or generate statistics that show the truth of your conclusion, there are few and could counter your ideas. There are, of course, problems with using statistics as evidence. So, can we use statistics as an evidence? Yes, it may be. But when it is coming with the proper way. So, the statistics is liable to be misused. Data may be made to lie. If your data is not properly collected, it provides a chaotic result. So example, a company claims 2 times 50% increase in the sale as compared to 25% increase. 25% increase for its competitor. Men are worse driver than women because 70% of the driver involved in accident are men. Do you agree with these statements? A company claimed 2 times increase in sale as compared to 25% increase its competitor. Suppose the claiming company's total capital is 100 rupees. He increased by 50%. Now this have 150. Another company from whose he compare the capitals is 500. Increasing, so it becomes 625. So whose gain is more? So this statement is misleading. The population has not been considered properly. In the second statement, men are worse driver than women because 70% of driver involved in accident are men. So men are more driver. More drivers are men, less drivers are women. So there is a less chance of accident in the women. So we should we should consider the population. Then we can make an statement. Number of car accident in foggy weather in the year are less than the clear weather, so that driving a car is good in foggy weather. Do you agree? Certainly no. In foggy weather, there are less number of cars on the road. So number of accident, the possibility of number of accident are less in the foggy weather. The percentage of pedestrian accident on left, right, and middle side of the road are 68%, 31%, and 1% respectively. Therefore, it is safer to walk in middle of the road. No, definitely no, because the data, the population is not, whole population is not considered here properly. Is it clear? So why the family drawn in the river? They don't know proper statistics. They use mean, however, they should use maximum depth. This graph, incorrect diagrammatical presentation. So this pink cube is more. But the statement is, suppose that the taxes have been doubled. In order to show it by an attractive diagram, previous tax in the form of a cube and present tax in the form of proportion of side of cube 1:2. But this cube is 8 times greater than this cube. So when you're going to use diagrammatic presentation of the data set, we should be careful to choose proper diagram or proper graph. So misleading graph, these two graphs are same for the data, for same data set. In this graph, we are starting on y-axis, we are starting from 0, but here from 300. In this graph, mean weekly income is given for the women and men. You can clearly say that with this graph, men's earning or main income is more than the female. This time, oppositions in the government are using this type of a statement. But in this graph, you can easily say there is no much difference. So this is the way, what you want to show. What you want to show. So to correct interpret of a graph, we should analyze the numerical information given in the graph instead of being misled by the graphical shape. Is it clear? We should not interpret with this shape, but we should use these numbers. So as per the record of State Electricity Board, availability of electricity and demand of electricity are increasing. Thus, can we infer the availability of electricity and demand of electricity are positively correlated? Many people are saying yes, these are increasing in same direction with the time, so that there is a positive correlation. So can we climb on the our roof on first floor to have an electricity in the room? No, definitely no. So availability of electricity is depending on on production of the electricity, not on the demand of electricity. So we should be careful when we are going to use this type of relational measure. 5 apples, rupees 50, apple 5, rupees 50,000. So position has important. Don't use this fallacy type of statement. So properly you write. So inappropriate choice of summary measure. Mean is the most popular summary statistics used for central tendency of the data set. But what about the income data? What about the marriage data? What about the foot length of data for describing the length of shoes for different size? So in these 3 examples, mean is not appropriate measure. So we should think about the another measure. So many measures present in the statistics. We should decide which measure is our requirement or which measure is required for our data set. So it is easy to lie with the statistics, but it is hard to tell the truth without statistics. So thank you for this session. In the next session, I will show the demo of with Excel and SPSS. These measure of central tendency, measure of variability, how to get these with the Excel MS Excel and SPSS. That is the very popular software. These software are, I think, easily available with each and everybody. Some more statistical software, but they are not available with the students and other teachers. They are purchased version. They are not available cracked version there. So in the next session, when we we'll discuss how to get these measure of central tendency and measure of variability with the statistical software, and what are the various idea about the correlation and regression, and how to get the correlation and regression with the statistical software. So thank you to all. Then this session, I think it should be over.
Thank you, sir, for such a wonderful session. Now, I would request participants to kindly ask their queries one by one, and please be specific and short so that others will also get a chance to interact. Participants, one by one, you can unmute your mic and ask your queries.
I think Dharen is enough competent to give the answer. He is my all-time favorite student, and he is topper of his batch, and my favorite student. And I think he is able to, if he continue his skill, what was in the MCOM during the MCOM times, he is able to.
Sir, this is Amarjit.
Yes.
Sir, I want to ask a question. Sir, if we take a data from election commission, and we proceed that data in age manner and income basis, so that sir, it can be a data, a primary data or a secondary data.
In my mind, there is a debate. Some people are saying this is not primary data, but in my mind, when data is not processed, it is in the crude form or raw form, it is primary for everybody, and you can use any type of statistics for. For secondary data, there is a limitation of statistics. All statistics cannot be used for the secondary data. Okay?
Okay, sir.
Suppose there is a NFHS data. Many people are saying NFHS is secondary for me because I am not involving in collection of the data set. But NFHS data is available on the site in the crude form. So why it is not primary for us?
Yes.
NFHS, there are many thousand people are involved in the NFHS survey. So how can you say this is the copyright, or this is the data for IIPS, or this is data for Ministry of Health? So definition should be very clear. If data is not processed anyway, it is primary for everybody.
Okay, sir.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
I truly appreciate you and your time you spent in this workshop, sir. Now I request
Sir, I have one question. Ma'am, I have one question.
Actually, we are getting out of time. You can continue in the next session.
No. Ask them. Yes.
Okay. You can ask.
Yes.
Thank you, sir, for such a valuable session. I am Shamli Dubey. And my question is that if I'm doing the multi-stage sampling for my research, in that situation, does it impact the impact on the sample size or the population? Because I have studied in several cities for my research, so that's why I'm a little bit confused that what will be my perfect sample size for my research.
Okay. There are many ways to calculate the sample size. I have discussed two. When you are knowing the average, or when you are knowing to prevalence. Suppose your objective is related to the prevalence. Just conduct a pilot survey wherever it is comfortable, and see what is the prevalence of your objective of the research. Okay. And according to this prevalence, you can calculate the sample size. Suppose it becomes 5,000, or it is 4,000. So divide this 4,000 into different districts or different blocks. First thing is what is your population? What is your capacity to take or survey, collect the data set. Suppose you want to collect data set from 2 districts.
Okay.
And from each districts, there should be 2 blocks. So there are 4
Okay.
blocks. So in 4 block, divide the data set and take
Yes.
such data set from each block.
Okay. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any
Thank
other
you,
question?
sir. I think there are no more questions. So now I would request Mrs. Vinita Kumari, Organizing Secretary and Assistant Professor, PG Department of Commerce, to propose vote of thanks. Ma'am, please.
Thank you, Nupur. Thank you so much. And good afternoon, sir. And good afternoon,
Thank
all
you.
the participants. For Commerce, Magad University. And on the behalf of PG Department of Magad University and the IIA Patna branch, I would like to thank you very much, sir, for giving your intake and your precious time here. And sir, you started with initial with very basic terms of statistic, and you tried to give all the explanation about the many terminologies of the statistics are here. And so it was great time with you, and hope for your assistance in future also, your support with us. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, ma'am.
And all the participants here, I don't think today was any big issue of network. आप लोग को भी बहुत अच्छा लगा होगा, and sir tried to solve all the queries today, and it was very beneficial today. And हमेशा beneficial तो हमेशा ही हो रहा है, because our resource persons are not common persons. ये लोग काफी आप लोग को पता चल ही रहा है, they do not need any kind of identification to tell you. Thank you so much, and Nupur, thank you so much for coordinating with us. Thank you, Nupur. Thank you all of you. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
Now we are concluding our first session for today, and I request all the participants to meet us at the same platform at 2:30 p.m. Please try to reach 15 minutes before the session to avoid any type of technical problem. And the topic for the second session is regression and correlation. Thank you everyone for your active participation. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. We'll meet at 2:30.
Yes, sir.
Okay.